Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode on the Beyond the Books podcast, University Edition. I'm Daniel Baseme, your host, and today I have my guests, Alicia, Kella, and Bradley. On today's episode, we have our topic poverty. Is it more of mindset or circumstance? So, Bradley, as a man of the house, what's your view on this topic?
All right, thank you for the welcome, Danielle. I believe poverty, even though poverty is more of your assets, your account balance, and all of that, but I think poverty starts from the mindset because the mindset controls how you spend, how you think, and even how you see opportunities. So I think with a poor mindset, you can, even if you start from riches, you can always go back to poverty because of that poor mindset. I mean, we've seen it several times. So yeah, that's my belief. Thank you.
Okay, Alicia, do you have something to say about your view on poverty?
Thank you, of course. Thank you, Daniel. I honestly believe that poverty is because of circumstance instead of mindset. Why do I say so? Because poverty, let's not limit poverty to individuals. If we look at it from the general point of view, a person is poor based on the government, it's his or her environment, and the social facilities around the person. So you cannot say poverty is like based on assets and stuff like that, because if we're in a poor political economy, or yes, we're going to be limited in how we think, how, yeah, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So growing up, right, did you ever think that money or the lack of money could ever shape your future?
Of course, yes, it can. Because if, can I use an example? Let
Sure,
me
you
use an
can.
example.
Yeah.
I'll use two students, a student in St. Mary's and a student going to a government school. The things a student in a government school has to worry about is not the same thing that a student in St. Mary's has to worry about. For example, you're here in St. Mary's, I'll use our college students. The least thing they have to worry about is my food is finished.
Sure.
Yeah, I need new pair of shoes. But the government student has a lot to worry about. You see them, they close school when they're done.
Transport
Yeah,
fare.
transport fare. They have to go and hawk to help their struggling parents. So I feel like money actually limits what you can. Yeah, limits a lot of things, education and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, if I got your question right.
Yeah. So, Kara, since we've begun, I haven't heard your voice. What do you think about what the question I asked?
Thank you, Daniel, for the floor. From my point of view, poverty is a stance of mindset.
Okay.
This is because your circumstance does matter, but the mindset brings you out of that circumstance which you were built into.
Okay.
Without the mindset, you won't move forward. You get my point of view, right? Without the mindset, you won't want to grow. You won't want to come out from that poverty. Let's take an example. Two students who are brought up in the same environment, the same poor community.
Yeah.
One says, this is where I was born, I will stay here. The other says, what if there's another opportunity somewhere else? I need to get there. I need to be in that opportunity to be able to support my family behind. So they go through that stance, they go through that mindset in order to come out with something, to be able to support their families behind. So I would say mindset has a major role to play in poverty.
Okay, can I go a little bit personal? Was there a moment in your life where you thought that, okay, maybe if I don't have money for this, I won't be able to achieve this goal, I won't be able to attain this?
Yes, I can say that, but yes, I can say that there was a moment in my life when I wanted to purchase something
Sure.
and I didn't have the money for it. But I was like, what if I find a way to make that money myself?
Okay.
What if I don't depend on my circumstance? I don't depend on my parents. I don't depend on my background. I find a way to do it.
Like you
So,
work for it.
yes, exactly.
Okay. So let me put out the big question here. Poverty, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe that it's more of a circumstance or it's your mindset?
I believe it's more of circumstance.
Okay.
I don't totally disagree with what Kella said,
Okay.
but mindset has a big role to play. But let's look at the environment. You want something, you're in a room where your parents paid for it. You want something. So the other things are like you couldn't care less about it. But let's look at a child whom the parent is struggling to send to school. Her shoe is bad. I don't think she'll go around asking, or I don't think a pair of shoe will be her priority because she has younger siblings. Yeah, so even if she's working hard, she has
Better things to tend
better
to.
things to tend to.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like the environment shifts your mindset. If you grow in a poor environment, striving for the future will not be your priority. You'll be struggling for daily bread. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I get it.
Yeah. So those who live in a poor environment, true, some of them think about the future, but the pressure that comes from family, friends, and all of that, you will struggle to, attain your daily goals so that you come back, you have food to eat, and it ends there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have short-term goals.
Yeah, exactly. They
They
don't have long-term goals because of their environment.
Okay. Bradley, what's your view on it?
Well, as I said in my intro, I believe mindset is way more it's way more impactful in determining whether you're rich or poor. Because as I said, it all starts from the mindset. There are several examples. In fact, some of the greatest people today started from abject poverty, but today there are world powers. So I really do believe mindset plays a great role. In fact, a greater role than circumstance. Sure, circumstance is a stepping stone. Yeah, a good circumstance will, you being born into good circumstances will always be a stepping stone, will be like an advantage. But your mindset is way more powerful. It's way more powerful than where you start from.
Okay, you mentioned people who started with abject poverty. Could you give like an example to what you said? Like someone you've seen who started as a poor person and is now a great person now.
All right, yeah. Jack Ma. All right,
Okay.
he started from poverty. He came from a very poor background, but he was able to build Alibaba, one of the biggest tech companies in the world today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's nice.
Okay.
Among many other examples, of course.
Okay.
So, sorry to cut Bradley short, but I have a question. Let's say, oh shit. Let's say, okay. Okay. Let's say you said something about, poverty being mindset, but I want to ask you this question. Do you think that all of the rich people have the money making mindset? Do you think so? Like, do you think all of the rich people are that smart to know that, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this? The main thing here is the money, because without money, your words don't have value. The rich people can buy the mindset, but the poor, it's very rare to find a poor person selling his mindset because nobody will listen to him. So mindset is actually kind of, limiting. Like I said earlier, your circumstances shape your mindset. If you were in the streets and you're giving 200 francs, I don't think you want to use that 200 francs to start hawking sweets on the road. True, it is an entrepreneurial mindset, but you have a younger brother at home who is hungry. Two, if I could say so. We use that 200 to feed them, or you want to hawk. Whereas you know that if you even hawk with that 200, you're not sure to come back with a profit to feed them still.
What you just said is backing up my point. How you said your circumstance determines your mindset. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Whether you're in a rich environment or a poor environment, it's all about your mindset. If you're in a poor environment with a rich mindset, you can catapult yourself to riches.
Without opportunities.
Like
you
the
look for
poor
the
people who
opportunity.
don't
I just
who are
quoted
not
a-
giving those opportunities.
Yeah.
if you get
I
what-
just quoted
get
an
what she's
example.
trying to say.
I just quoted an example of someone who had those very little opportunities but still became great.
But not
Greater than so
everyone
many
though.
people who started ahead of him.
Exactly. And we cannot just base theories on the people that have become great.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
reality.
what about the people that they worked as hard as those people that have become great,
Exactly.
but they're still in the same position today? Why
Because
don't they
you
talk
remain with your
about
poor
them?
mindset, you remain poor.
It's not about the mindset. It's not about the mindset. I believe there's someone who did you mention? The person you called?
I said Jack Ma.
Yeah, Jack Ma. I believe there's someone who worked as hard as him, but he didn't have the opportunity.
There are people
Yeah.
who ride bikes nowadays and they have masters. It's not
They're
their fault.
struggling, but they're still very
They
poor.
have the mindset, right? They have the vision to get rich, but like they don't have the opportunities to.
How is
Exactly.
intellectual knowledge equal to mindset? It's not the same thing.
I'll use this opportunity to talk about two types of mindset. There is the scarcity mindset and the growth mindset. With the scarcity mindset, the little you have now, you think of what to do with it at that moment. You think of, let me just say, squandering. Some people, they buy clothes. Others, like you said, they feed their junior ones at home.
Yeah.
But with growth mindset, those people, when they receive that money, they check on how to invest it. They look for great investment, not these quacks investments around. They look for great investments where they know that if they put that money inside, you know very well, entrepreneurs, you can never be a great entrepreneur if you don't take risk.
Yeah.
You have to take that risk to be able to get somewhere.
But I have a question. How do you invest when you don't even have food to eat? Or you get the energy to, wake up and say, oh, I
You can
want to
still invest your knowledge, like you said, that other people out here who have the knowledge, the degrees, all that. If you want to check from their point of view, they have not even tried. You get the point.
Yeah.
And even those that have actually tried, maybe they have failed at the first stage. So they have given up. Some go to the second stage, third stage, they give up, not knowing that the fourth stage can be their stepping stone.
True.
You have to be consistent
Okay.
to be able to get to where you're going to. The discipline, the consistency is a major part of it.
Okay.
You get.
Okay.
Exactly.
To add to what she said as well, there's some philanthropists who like organize trade fairs, organize events
Exactly.
to bring up people who are poor, like people who have the mindset of building something of
Yeah.
investment, and they actually come together. They come together to those events and they present their ideas to the philanthropists.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about, opportunity. And like I said, you guys are basing poverty on an individual. And that is where my point still stands.
Okay.
You cannot say someone is, you can think, okay, rich. There are people that are rich in Cameroon, but do you know they're poor? Because the country on its own is a poor country. From the mindset to the political ability and all of that, yeah, they're still very poor. You cannot base poverty on an individual.
Yeah.
If it was by choice, that means that there are great thinkers out there. There are people with great ideas, but they don't
Yeah.
have the opportunity to direct their ideas to, somebody that will listen to them. I don't think if a homeless man comes to you, you will shut the door. Because why? Because he is poor. But if you see a man well suited and he comes knocking on your door, that, okay, I have something to tell you.
I have a business idea to
Yeah,
present to
you welcome him, right? But and I know you will say, oh, why will you come and present an idea looking tattered, looking unkempt? But he
Yeah.
doesn't have the
I will not
funds
say
for that.
If the homeless man was hardworking enough, if the homeless man was really determined on investing in himself, learning skills, he won't be homeless for that long, or he won't even get to the level of being homeless. Like, do you get? No.
All what you're saying is theory until you're put in those shoes.
Okay,
Trust
okay.
me. Do you see those people who ride bikes? For how long have they been riding bikes? True, some of them have built houses, some of them, but riding a bike will not build you a mansion. Riding a bike will not send 4 of your kids to St. Mary's, and that is what I'm saying. Because they have the idea, but there's nobody to listen to them. So mindset it's like having,
It's baseless.
yeah, it's having fuel to put in no engine.
Have you ever considered that they just believe that since they're born into that situation, they prefer to stay safe? They prefer fear. They prefer safe fear than uncertain risk. You get where I'm going to.
Yeah.
Like, they prefer to be in a comfortable environment that they know about than to go to greater heights that they don't know the stage to reach there. You say these people that ride bikes, for example, you cannot tell me that they don't make less than, let me say, 5,000 francs per day. That 5,000 francs can do a lot. We all know. You can take that little 5,000 francs, invest in this business, it will go to greater heights. Other people normally will see it. And there are many investors out there nowadays. They will see it and they want to invest for it to grow higher. So you need to have that mindset that take this money, go into this place, go into this business. I can see that the people around here need it. Like around our community, let me take for example Tico. You can take that money, You see that there are not convenience stores around here. You take that money, build a convenience store. Other people will see it and even want to invest to open it to a big mall if possible. Where does the where does it come from? Your mindset. You see the opportunities around you. You take note of the faults, the risk, and then you grab it and get into it. You don't just see it and say, I once had this idea, I tried it, it did not come to pass. My mother tried it, my grandfather tried it, my father tried it did not go. They tried it, you did not try it. Even if you tried it, maybe you tried once or twice and you failed to get that investor that you were looking forward to getting. There are other people out there that want to invest in this business. You just haven't you just haven't gotten the information out. So
Yeah,
bit by bit, when others will see you, they'll connect you to other people. So I believe that poverty is a matter of mindset. When you have that mindset to go higher,
exactly.
it's a
Just to
stepping stone.
Not too sure. I have a question.
Yes,
Have you ever seen someone struggle, like actually try their best to achieve something with that mindset and they still end up with nothing?
No.
You've
Exactly.
never.
No.
Exactly, because
if you
you're
work hard
basing all
enough
your
and you have that mindset, you won't fail.
it's because you're basing all your ideas on theory. All of this is theory. Why? Because let's say, as you said, a bike man, he,
As you said.
oh yeah, as I said, a bike man, you get, he's not just riding his bike to go home and, sleep on that 5,000. Like I said earlier, the environment matters. There's pressure coming from different directions. That bike man, that 5,000, you're in a comfortable environment, you're comfortable. Or someone that has somewhere to sleep and has no kids will think about investing that 5,000. But the bike man, he will have 2 or 3 kids at home, has a wife to cater for. Do you really think he will be thinking about opening a convenience store with that 5,000? He will think about daily bread. Because without daily bread, if you don't have the strength to wake up every day, the food to eat to wake up every day, how will you invest? Like they say, health before wealth. So I don't think you'll be sick and you want to invest.
You could think about that before having 2 kids. He wasn't just born with two
Some
kids.
people don't know family planning.
Exactly.
And that's
people
part
don't
of the
know.
poor mindset. You
And
could
that
think
is
about that
that
before
is
having two
that is
kids.
part of economic and educational poverty, which we blame that on the government.
It's technically not their fault.
Yeah.
It is he looked for the kids and he got his kids. He wasn't just born into the world with 2 or 3 kids.
Okay. Did you choose to be born in the family you're born in
It's
right now?
mindset, right? It still falls under mindset. He has a poor mindset.
Yes.
Exactly.
You're not getting
That's
you're
why
not
I
getting my
said there are
point
two
right.
types of mindset. There's the scarcity
Yeah.
mindset and the growth mindset. The scarcity mindset is the one that limits you. The growth mindset is the one that helps you to helps open your mind to the world, to the community at large.
That's what I'm saying. That
He can still do financial segregation. You
that's what
cannot tell me that you take 5,000 francs and go and spend it all, let me say, on your children. What happened to their fees? So you take that money, you divide it, you know that this goes to the children's feeding, this goes to their clothes. That's where you know that you
5,000
have
francs.
that's why I'm just picking an example. I do not
Wait, 5,000
I just pick an
francs.
example. I
No.
did not actually say that that's what they make in a day. You get where I'm going to. You have to have your budget for the month
But that is what
or
most
your budget for the week. Let me say you work towards it.
that is what most people make, most bike men. So a bike man will not have 5,000 and he will
How
not
much do you take from here
he will
to
not want to
5,000
wait,
francs
he will
in a
not want
day?
to bank it because he has pressing matters at hand.
Exactly.
You didn't choose to be born in the family you were born in today, right? Those who were born in the poverty, in the
How do you
poor
think it
environment,
shapes their
how do you
life?
think it shapes them?
If
No
you budget well
education.
enough, there's no way out of that 5,000. You
There's
can
no
keep
way.
1,000,
That's why I say the mindset
and
works
it's
in
going to
it.
accumulate. It's just because he's comfortable there or not willing enough. He's not zealous enough to change from that position. So he's going to keep on spending the 5,000 just to stay afloat, like just to survive.
And I keep saying that because I'll repeat what I said. You're
Don't-
saying
wait,
you're saying
let me
this.
finish.
No,
Wait,
I let you talk. I let you talk. You're saying that because you're born into like a comfortable, a comfortable setup. You get what I'm trying to say? If you have 3 brothers, you're the one providing for all of them, right? And you earn 5,000 in a day. You have to give. Listen to me. You have to give each of those brothers 1,000 every day for transport fare. there are 3 of them, that's 3,000 gone. You have 2,000 left. You need 1,000 for your own transport fare.
Don't
And
the
then-
bike men drink beer?
Excuse me.
They also drink beer. They don't need the beer to survive, but you still see them drinking beer.
But they need to be comfortable once in a while. So if you're
That's what I said.
He could
That's
see.
what I said. That's
so
what I
because
actually
you're so if you're
spoke
poor,
about.
you harm yourself. If
Oh, you must drink beer. That's what you're trying to. You're also trying
let
to
me
back that
tell
up.
let me how many let me ask you a question. How many people have finished university with first class degrees and they're jobless? Whose fault is that?
Alicia, I don't get the point. That's where I mentioned that they prefer to stay in a comfortable environment rather than taking the risk to get to somewhere new.
But he has looked.
Circumstance can be the starting point, quite all right. I've not refused. Some people, it's a matter of circumstance. It can be the starting point, but mindset can push you out of that circumstance. Like he's rightfully said, they drink beer. You said they have to feel comfortable once in a while. But where comfortability comes, that's where fear lives in.
No.
They don't
totally agree with
want
that.
to
There's no
go
growth in
ahead. There's no
comfort.
growth in comfort. We all know that. There's no growth in fear. But you keep on blaming the system. Let me take, for example, take 2 students who have written an exam.
Yeah.
One fails, or let me say the both of them fail, actually. One blames the teacher, blames the setting of the exam, while the other one says, I have to work harder in order to improve my grades. Who do you think will go higher?
The one who says I have to work harder.
Is it not mindset?
It is. But
It is.
Let me.
But you see the circumstance, said yourself that the system is to blame, this is to blame.
reiterate on something.
So you're just
Let me
dig yourself
let me say something.
deeper.
Let me say something, please.
yes.
I don't totally disagree that poverty can be based on mindset, but
yes.
mindset cannot work alone. Mindset must work with opportunity, and that is a fact. If you don't have opportunity, your mindset is meaningless.
Okay.
Your mindset is like is like I don't know. Let me use
Okay.
that.
Yes,
sorry,
they both
sorry
work
to cut
hand
you
in hand,
short.
actually. Opportunity needs mindset, mindset needs opportunity.
Sorry to cut you short, right?
Yes.
Let's say you have 2 seeds. I keep using seeds. You have 2 seeds. You plant one very fertile soil, and then you plant one in a desert, very dry. And if the one in the desert does not grow, will you blame the seed?
That's not a
Wait,
good
answer the
example.
question. Will you blame
That
the
is
You're
seed?
the one that puts it in
The seed did not
this,
exactly. That is generational.
That's where the problem
But like,
comes.
why would you go and plant a seed in the
In
I
the
used
desert.
an example. I don't say I'm planting the seed. Let's say there are 2 seeds, right? One is planted
How did you
fertile
plant
soil.
itself in this?
how did you get
It's like you asking yourself that why were you born in your family?
That's true.
Nobody chooses to be where he or she
It's not
is
a good
today.
example. The
It
seed
is.
is just a seed. It must
No,
grow
no, no,
there.
no, no,
It
no,
can.
no. It's a metaphorical
No.
Yeah.
statement.
We're all seeds. We all started as
It's a
seeds here.
metaphorical statement.
The seed can never move from where it was planted. We are humans. With the mindset, you can move from the desert area to the fertile soil. That's not a good example.
Okay, now can I say something? If rain happens to fall in that desert, right? And that seed.
That is not a
See,
good
it
example.
is a good example. Why are you shutting down my idea?
Yes.
That rain is the opportunity that is given to that seed. And if that seed happens to shoot or it happens to, sprout, it will struggle to grow. So that's why I'm saying that if the opportunity does not come, mindset is meaningless. I'm not saying mindset is totally, out of the picture.
Yeah.
But if opportunity does not come, what do you do with your mindset?
Do
Who
you know you
eats
can still
mindset?
use that mindset to get to the opportunity?
Okay. Let me stop you guys. Let me stop you guys now. For you guys talking about mindset, do you think it can be taught or it must be self-developed?
Well, both.
Both,
It could
actually.
both be self-developed and it can be taught.
Okay.
Well, the advantage people who are born into richer backgrounds have is that inherently they have the rich mindset. Well, most of them.
Okay.
Yes, but when you're born into the poor background, you're born into the poor
I say
mindset
something?
most often. Yeah.
Can I say something? There are people who are born into the rich mindset, right? They're born into a rich environment. And they decide that, okay, I'm not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything.
That is so
And
That's where scarcity mindset
at one
comes in,
point,
yes.
the family goes bankrupt and they don't have anything, like they have no knowledge on how to work money. They eventually get poor.
Yes, if you listen to my intro, you'll hear that I said that. I said that in the beginning that there are people who were rich and they became poor because of the mindset. I'm not trying to say you being born into a rich family or having good circumstances is not an advantage.
Okay.
It's an advantage, yes. But without a rich mindset or without a good mindset, you can live from there to poverty very quick. And that in that same fashion, you can live from poverty to wealth with the mindset.
And that is why I used what you said, that rich people could buy mindset, that rich people who buy ideas. Let me use rappers for example. They don't write all of their songs. They have the money to buy people who write their songs for them. But if you're poor, I don't think you come and stand in front of me and tell me that I want to write a song for you. Who will listen to you? Who will listen to you? So that's what I'm saying.
That's a
That
fact.
yeah, everything. All we're saying is that poverty is due to circumstance, and
Yeah.
when opportunity comes, it builds the mindset.
Okay.
You cannot. Okay, let's say there are two students. One is St. Mary's, and one lives in a very poor, poor village. He uses a candle to study. You use light. He wakes up in the morning. He has to clean. Wake up from 5 to this time to come and hawk a toll gate. If the student in St. Mary's fails and the one in the village fails, who will you blame? Like, who will take the blame more? Who is the irresponsible one?
The poor kid.
No, the rich kid, because he has everything at his
This
disposal.
example would have been valid maybe 20 years ago. In 2026, we should not be using such examples. We have seen, especially with social media, how many people, thanks to if you just have your skill, you can leverage it through social media. I mean,
You can even
I
learn
think
a
also
skill.
of iShow Speed. Where did he start from? Just 5 years in. He just started his streaming in 2025. But I saw a report last week that he was refusing YouTube paying him $800,000 per month. Where did he start from? His mother couldn't send him to school.
Exactly.
Yes, but he used his skills, and today he's one of the biggest streamers in the world, if
And
not the biggest.
He had the opportunity.
And
to
how
have-
many of those people who were rich in 2020, who were born into rich families, can refuse $800,000 per month now? It's not all about your circumstance. It's not all about that.
I'm not refusing. I'm not totally shutting down mindset, like I said earlier. But circumstance is the stepping stone. Circumstance determine how you begin, but mindset determines how far you go. And that's what you guys are getting mixed up here. Circumstance will always determine how you begin. He was opportune enough to, let's say, grasp a phone. How many poor people have, Android phones? Let me talk about those who are poor, wretchedly poor. How many of them have because a phone is not their priority now.
Yes.
Many of those the bike men you use as an example in the beginning have smartphones, have Android phones.
We're not talking about the bike people.
We're talking about poverty in general.
Even excluding that, you said yourself that circumstance is like the starting point, like the door. I also said that as well. Is the door to it. You said mindset determines how far you go.
Yeah.
But poverty now is the final, like, what you are, the state that you're in. So it means you had the mindset that you don't want to grow into it. That's where the scarcity mindset comes in, right? Circumstance is the stepping stone. I've not refused. It's the starting point. It's where you were born into. It's how you were brought up. Something of that sort.
That is why I'm saying that mindset works on individuals. A bike man that can work on a bike man that, let's say, he has one kid, or a bike man that lives alone. If he doesn't save, he has a poor mindset. But when I talk about poverty and circumstance, like I said, not based on an individual. A bike man will not have 3 kids and then he will say, no, let me save 1,000 to open a shop. He knows that
is because of his poor mindset.
It's not
you
because
are just backing up my point.
It is not because of his poor mindset.
Mindset.
It is because of his environment, his family. Look, when you're comfortable, right, you prioritize future. But when you're not comfortable, you prioritize day to day. You're struggling to survive. You're not struggling to make, I don't know. Poor people struggle to survive, and that is what I'm saying.
From her example, right, she says that the bike man cannot use 1,000. That is because he has pressure coming from his family, his wife. Imagine you're sitting down at home, your kids don't have what to eat. Then you come and sit and tell me, your wife, that you want to use money to build a shop. Doesn't make sense. What happens to the kids who are hungry? What happens to you who is hungry? What happens to us? I mean,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
That point isn't really realistic.
And if
It's
they
not
if they
because
die,
it's not because if you remove 1,000 from the 5,000 that is kid to starve to death.
do you see
It's
how
not because of
how
that.
you look at 1,000?
He can.
You look
he
at
can-
1,000 like
it's
chicken
so,
change.
Like it's so little.
But 1,000 to somebody is like 1 million to you. And that is what I'm trying to say. When your mindset is, oh my God.
Don't
If he
blame the
decides not-
environment you were born
if he
into.
decides to cut out
Decide to step out of
alcohol
it.
or something he likes to do, if he decides to cut that out from his budget,
His
you'll be
comfort
able to
zone.
save
Step
that.
You
out
people,
of his
you guys
comfort
are behaving
zone.
as if poverty is a choice, and that is what you guys are literally saying. Poverty is not a choice.
But
Poverty is not a
yes,
choice.
we said, it's not a choice. Some people are born into it. Some people they step down into it. Like he rightfully said, people are there that they are born in rich families, rich backgrounds, but because of the poor mindset, poor scalability, as he said, they degrade themselves, all those stuff. You have to have that great mindset that after this is this stage, you plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Like you said, the bike man will just get up and have 4 kids at home. You have to plan. If you have those 4 kids, you know that I have to provide for them. They can just get up. You cannot tell me that children will just get up and they just want things. Normally, they're pressured by their peers from school. You have to know that these kids are going to school. Normally, they'll meet other people. They'll see other things they want to have. So in the light to satisfy them, you have to go higher.
I have a question.
And just to add, even having those 4 kids when you're not stable is part of the poor mindset.
Yes.
Why? Because
why did you not plan?
Excuse me, why? Because let me tell you something. Look at it. I'll not use an example again. But why? Because that you blame on the educational system. That's what I'm saying, that poverty is not limited to one person. You blame that on the educational system. I don't think somebody would choose not to have funds to go to school. There are people who are not educated, not by choice. Or let me ask you this. If a girl, right, that like a bunch of girls every day they come knocking on doors, please pay us to wash plates, pay us to wash plates. I can bet you that 2 or 3 moms will tell you that when those girls come and knock, don't open the gate for them. Why? Because when you're poor, you're like a pest. And that is it. You might have the mindset, but once you're poor, you're a pest. And it's a fact. That one, you cannot even argue with it.
Washing plates is not a skill. Get a skill that can be monetized. Get the proper skill. Why should you choose?
Hold it there. What's the washing place is not a skill. There's certain people out here who don't know how to wash plates. So
Yes, but get the proper skill that you can monetize.
But they have that mindset. That is
Yes,
what I'm
that's
saying. They
their
have the
business
mindset.
idea.
That is their business
they have sat down and
idea.
have thought, okay,
You
there's
are
some rich
just
guys.
adding to my point. Yes, having a poor mindset, being born in a poor background gives you the poor mindset. But that is exactly why you remain poor.
Like,
But there are people
blaming that. That's how you were
Okay,
born.
let me ask you this question. Can someone truly think their way out of poverty? Like, totally.
think and work their way out of poverty.
That's what we mean.
You think, and that's we are being
See,
But that's
beginning, we'll be talking
mindset.
about
That's
growth
mindset.
mindset. I
That is-
rightfully said that there are 2 types of mindset. There's the scarcity mindset and the growth mindset. From our perspective, we're talking about the growth mindset.
That's why
You should
I
get
asked,
on
can
that
you
foot.
think your way out of poverty?
Growth mindset deals with thinking and working. You use those circumstances that you're born into to get out of it. You see,
You
those,
said
you look at those circumstances.
You just said
You look at those
circumstances.
circumstances as a stepping stone. Normally, if you just look at those circumstances, you'll be like, that's how it is, that's how I am. But if you have that mindset that this is the circumstance I was born to, I will use this circumstance to get out of where I am. That's a mindset.
And that
It
is-
comes out from
And
mindset.
that is why I asked the question that, do you know how many people who think like that and are still, feeling
Have
from
they
hand
tried?
to
Do
mouth?
Do you know how many people that have thought that and they're still there?
I know a lot of people.
Who?
Our house help. Yes, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people. She has that message. She comes, she works, but the pay is not enough for.
Has she tried proposing a business plan or something?
Okay, yeah, she
To her
sells.
parents.
Or let me just say her parents.
She sells foliary.
Okay.
Let's say you're a teacher, right? You've written all of that, you have your degree. Can you just go to the ministry and go and knock on any door that, okay, I'm a great teacher, give me a job? The
There are
system
steps
on
to
its own is
follow.
corrupt. That is why I'm saying
Don't
that
blame the
Wait,
system.
hold on.
you cannot base
There's a
poverty
process,
on one
right?
person.
There's a process. obviously you've gone to a teaching school. You've learned how to be a
Yeah.
good teacher.
Yeah.
But then you've gone to that school and you've not found opportunities. Like you've not found a school that can accept you as a teacher. Maybe the schools you've been to have refused that. Okay, they don't have any vacant spots. They don't want. They don't need a teacher in this place in this
In this
department.
category.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's say you don't have the funds to move to a different town or a different city where there may be schools that may accept you. So at some point, you might sit in that situation.
And I don't think if because a teacher went to a teaching school, if he comes and knocks on your door and he's like,
Let me
okay,
teach
I
your
want to
child."
homeschool your child, you will never accept. You will want to choose someone that is teaching in a renowned school or in a
Yeah.
reputable school.
Like a school that has a good name.
Yeah.
I get your
And that is
point.
what I'm saying, when you're poor, you're a pest. So poverty is circumstance.
Okay, let me ask this question. What role do you think the government plays in poverty? With poverty, sorry.
The government plays a very big role.
Yes.
Let's look
come
at
on.
jobs, for example. There are limited jobs. People come out there with wonderful degrees, but there are no jobs for them.
Like white collar jobs, you mean?
Yeah. You cannot blame
Job
that. You cannot blame
unemployment.
that on the mindset.
The start of the poverty mindset is when you only wait for a job.
They go out searching for jobs. I know people
Have
that
they
I said
tried
this-
creating?
I said the start of the poverty mindset is when you only wait for jobs or look for jobs. Why can't you use your skill, monetize your skill, and
There are
and
certain
earn some
people
income?
who don't have skills
skills.
that can earn them a certain
Because
amount
they've
of money.
stayed in the archaic mindset.
It's not
It's
about
not
the
the
archaic
archaic
or
mindset.
the archaic circumstance.
It is not about that. There's
It's
a
the
thing. There's
circumstance.
a thing that riches are inherited, and it is very true. There's no way once you're rich, right? Even if unless you're surrounded by wicked people, but once you're rich, you have connections, you have opportunities, you have people who will listen to you. But if you're poor, you have no connection.
Do you know that there are some people that they are rich, they have those connections, but without the mindset to go higher, they stay standard.
But they're still rich.
Or they even come lower.
But they're still rich.
There's people who are
See,
rich.
don't see.
They have
And there are people who are poor that they have the mindset to go higher and,
And they're
go.
still in the same position.
All right, let me give you, you've used your examples. Let me just use another example now to further emphasize that mindset is the key to determining whether you're poor or rich.
Okay.
Okay, so two brothers, they both inherit 100 million. Okay, the first one gets his money, and the first thing he does is to travel to France and start spending.
Squander it lavishly.
Even if it was, even let's even say 1 billion, in 5-10 years, you'll be left with almost nothing. And the other person, even if he was given just 10 million, and he had the good mind, the mindset of growth, in 5 years he's way richer.
Excuse me. He has the opportunity to have 10 million in his hand. That is exactly what I'm saying. He has the 10 million. They have the 10 billion. Poor people, if you're born in poverty, you don't have that 10 million
Wait.
to think about going to
I
France.
was just trying to show you that.
You say you use
with
a
the
great
mi-
example.
Pardon?
You say you're going to use a very good example. That's what I'm
You
using.
use two rich people.
Yeah. Use two rich
Oh,
people.
you've been using your
Is there some way
poor
I
examples.
use two poor people? Okay, let me use
I
your
used a
poor
student in St.
example.
Mary's and a student in a
I've
very
not
poor
Okay, let me
village.
only
use-
used the rich example. Didn't I tell you about Jack Ma? Didn't he start from poverty?
That is why
what you just said.
Pardon?
What you just said. You used two rich people.
That is why
Okay,
I'm trying to
since
show you.
your problem there is that he used two rich people.
Yeah,
No, that's
taking
not my
one
problem.
rich
Okay,
one.
let me use
See,
your example,
that is not
Alicia.
my
I will
problem.
use your example.
That is-
Take the two students that you're talking about in the public schools.
I said one
No,
is
she
in
said
St.
one in a
it's
rich, in a
One
private
in the
school,
private school
Yeah.
and one in the public school. Okay, let's say one in St. Mary, one in, let's say, a public school. Let me
say-
take for
You say
let-
whatever.
let's
Or that is please, can I
let me
say my
finish.
can I say my
Yes,
example? Yeah.
continue.
I said one student is in St. Mary's, right? And the other person is in the public
Public
school.
school,
The
yeah.
one in the public school uses a lamp to study or a candle to study.
Quite right.
He has to wake up in the morning, he has to hawk before coming to school.
Exactly.
And then when he's in Mary's, just has to wake up, study, prep for school, and go to class.
Yeah.
If
You don't have anything to worry about.
if the poor one fails, do you think you blame the child that why did you fail? Then you blame his or her
same,
surrounding.
yes.
Yeah, that's why I said poverty is based on circumstance. But if a child in St. Mary's fails,
you're not
yes,
serious.
it's because of the child's fault. The child is born into riches and has decided not to use
Spoiled.
it because of a poor mindset. You don't
You have said it all.
because
Poor
of a poor
mindset.
mindset, but
Poor
a
mindset. That's the scarcity mindset. We're talking about the growth mindset.
a poor or rich mindset will not take you out of poverty. The poor child is studying, he uses a candle to study, but he fails. Why? Because look at his environment. That child has to hawk before going to school.
And he can
He has
use that
to-
hawking as a stepping stone
He
to
has
get out
he,
of that
he
poverty
has
to
to
go
come
to
back. He has
greater
to come back and trek.
circumstances.
That is theory until you're put in their
No, no,
shoes.
no, no, no. I actually know someone who was born into a poor
Environment.
hawked his way out of poverty, and is now a big person
Okay,
now.
that's I said those are rare opportunities, but we don't
They are
look.
not
We
rare.
don't. We
You
don't
look for them.
We
You
don't look.
search for them. You don't see the circumstance as a way to stay in it.
That is-
You don't look at it as a comfort zone. You don't put
See.
yourself in it and say, okay, this is just it. This is my life every
I'm
day.
not-
I get up, I hop, get up, go to school. No, you have to put something in between. Like,
Do you
I
know-
have to look for this business opportunity. If possible, look for an
Excuse me.
investor.
Do you know going to school alone, right?
We're all going
is
to school.
because your opportunity. But
To learn.
if a poor person is striving to go to school, that is a hardworking mindset. He has the mindset, but he's
Yeah.
limited.
It's still a good man.
You
It is-
can,
it's
yes,
still-
actually, it's a
It is
growth
still it is still a
mindset.
growth mindset. You
It's
get
a
what I'm
growth
trying to
mindset,
say,
quite alright.
and
It
that is
did-
why
you have
I
to say like
sorry to
that.
cut you short, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying that. I don't entirely shut down mindset, but what I'm saying is that mindset
And we don't
alone
entirely shut
will not-
down circumstance.
if it's only by thinking that you will sit at this and say, oh, I need to wake up and create a machine. You cannot create a machine without the funds. Excuse me. If you want to make a machine, you need funds, you need support, you need
It's the same way.
Since you're speaking about circumstance, right? What advice or what do you think the society can stop? What do you think the society needs to stop telling poor people?
So it's your life. That's just how you're
it's
born.
your fault you're poor.
Yes.
They need to
Exactly.
stop that because, like I said, poverty is not based on
not-
an individual.
Yeah, it's not a choice.
Yes,
Actually,
you're not poor by choice.
You're not poor by
you're
choice.
born
right?
into it, quite alright, but you decide to stay in it if you don't want to move forward. You cannot tell me that you struggle and struggle to move forward and then just give up.
And
Can I say something?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like what you just said, right? There's certain people who are born into
Poverty, yeah.
poverty, right? And then let's say I'm a teenager, I'm 15 years old. My parents are so poor, and I decide that I want to go out and work money. And they stop me. They say, no, you're not, I'm not going to give you that liberty to go into the city. Let's say we're living in the village. They stop and they say, I'm not going to give you the liberty to go into the city and work money, that you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot be richer than us. Because there are certain people who are crazy like that.
Yes, that's where the ancestral beliefs start coming.
You don't
all
stay. You
that.
don't stay under them forever.
Even
No,
minus
you're
when they stay,
15
you can
years old. I
start
was
bit
still
by
speaking.
bit.
I was still speaking. You're 15 years old. If you
Ooh.
leave your parents' house, what good will come out of you?
Pardon?
In the village, if you leave your parents' house at 15, what good may come out of you?
Nobody has asked you to leave your parents' house at 15.
Because they're refusing you to work money. They're refusing you to
You can still do small side jobs, side hustles.
without your parents' approval.
It's possible.
And if they do find out, everything will have to come to an end.
You will not eventually come to an end. If you decide to break out of that ancestral, because most parents, what
Hold
they
on.
believe is that they don't want their children to be higher than them, especially those archaic minds, archaic circumstances, archaic mindset. They're like, no, I did not become this, so why will you become this? You have to see that as a stepping stone that, no, I have to prove this person wrong. Even though you say some don't have that mindset to do that. But once you decide that you don't want to be like that, you don't want to struggle, you have to use that circumstance as a stepping stone to get
that
out
will
of
make
it.
you-
I agreed with you on circumstance since the beginning, actually. But I said
Then what are we still arguing about?
mindset has a major role to play. Circumstance is the opening door, like is the door. But you need mindset to be able to push through. Like they said, there's a saying that, give me a fish, I'll eat for a day. Teach me how to fish, I'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
You see the circumstance. You see it as a door. If you don't decide to use your mindset to walk through that door, you stand on the other side.
That is why
and you never know what's beyond.
That is why
if you don't take that risk, you never know what's ahead.
That's why I keep asking the same question. So these people that hawk on the street,
You and these people that hawk.
wait, these people that hawk on the street, do you think it's because they have the
If
poverty
they hawk
mind?
forever, it's just because they have the poverty
please
mindset.
They've decided to stay
don't cut me
there.
short. Don't cut me short. But I'm asking a question. So you think these people that hawk on the street, is it because they have the poverty mindset?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, if you do it forever.
No, you cannot say that you're
If you
basing
do
your.
it-
Not
you
no.
can.
If you do it forever, it's because you have the poverty mindset.
No.
If that's what you
If you
decide to do, it means that's what you decided to settle for.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You've created a machine or whatever, right? You have that hardworking mindset. You get that machine. I don't know.
No, not
Wait.
hardworking mindset. I'm advocating for the growth mindset,
Okay, yeah,
not hardworking mindset.
you have the growth mindset. We're talking about mindset on its own. We're not talking about growth mindset. We're talking about mindset. And that's what I'm saying. You have a machine, right? You've created a machine. That machine could solve so many problems. But you don't have the opportunity to meet someone that wants to buy your idea. You remain with that machine will get bad. Or whatever happens to the machine, God knows. But nobody, if you don't have that opportunity for somebody to, buy your idea, to bring you out there, you will remain in darkness. And that is why I'm saying that poverty is based on circumstance. Mindset works on individuals, but poverty as a whole works on, the environment, social, political, like I keep saying. Let me use this, please.
Yeah.
Let's say your parents don't go to school, that illiterate. You're somewhere that people, because there are places like that in Cameroon that they don't even go to school, or they have to go to, really far villages to go to school. You're born with that mindset that, okay, we don't go to school over here. That is not your fault. You have a poor mindset, but that is not your fault. Why? Because the government on its own is being very lax about those things. They don't provide schools for those people. That is an opportunity. It would be different if they provided the schools and then you chose not to go to school.
You're not getting me. You're not getting my point. You're not getting my point.
You're not getting my point.
Let's take it like this. What do you think? Do you think opportunity just comes knocking at your door?
You work for it, right?
Exactly.
And that is what I'm saying.
Why do you work for it? What prompts you to work for it?
Hold on. That's a student. How should a student work for a school? How should a student find
No, Liz, I did not say a school. I said, do you think opportunities come knocking at your door?
And that
was my question. Do you think opportunities? It doesn't.
Yeah.
How do you look for those opportunities? What prompts you to look for those opportunities?
And that is why
What prompts you to look for those opportunities?
Growth mindset.
Growth mindset is.
But that is why
we communicating?
We are. But that is why I'm saying that you could have the growth mindset, but if you don't have the opportunity, you will remain poor.
Listen to yourself. If you don't have the opportunity, what prompts you to look for that opportunity?
You're not understanding. I'm saying the same. You have the growth mindset, but you don't have an opportunity. Opportunity does not come knocking your door.
Exactly.
You can go out there, keep looking.
Search for it, right?
Search for opportunities.
What prompts you to search for the opportunities?
And you don't, growth mindset.
It's a mindset.
But the mindset will not remove you out of poverty.
That's why we talk. If you work for poverty, if you work out
Nobody has refused that. As a poor child, you have to work harder than the rich person.
Or even a rich person still has to work hard to be able to stay afloat.
The mindset, true. I didn't refuse that. The mindset.
Then why are we arguing?
The mindset determines where you end, but circumstance determines where you begin.
That's what we've been saying.
And that is why.
Do you want to stay at the starting point, or do you have to continue to the end? It's just like you saying that you want to start secondary school. Let me take, for example, secondary school in Form 1. Form 1 is the stepping stone, is the starting point.
Yeah.
Upper seat is the end of the line. You have to put in your mind that you have to get there to be able to cross to the next level.
Okay.
If you say, no, this is the starting point, I can stay here, it's comfortable, there's no way for me to go to the next stage, let me just stay here, because I know that I know everything that's already happening here.
No, that's different. Yes. I don't know if you guys are listening to what
I'm
you're saying.
listening to what you're saying.
Let me ask you a question.
It's just like choosing to remain a bike man forever, choosing to become a hawker forever.
You don't choose to be
you stay in your circumstance.
You don't choose.
Compare education like
and that is why I'm saying you don't choose to be poor. There are people who want to go to school, but they cannot go to school. So a 5-year-old, you see those homeless kids on the street, do you think, what do you expect a 5-year-old to do? What do you wait? Answer my. What do you expect a 5-year-old to
Have
do?
you ever
Now
seen a
limit
5-year-old
it to
to
children and all of
We're
that.
We're talking about poverty.
environment.
We're talking about
School is
poverty.
not equivalent to school is not equivalent to where you earn.
That is why I'm saying poverty. There are people who have that mindset, but if they don't have opportunities, they will not go anywhere. And that is a fact.
And-
you might want to go to school, but you cannot go to school. Wait, do you expect your 3-year-old junior brother, because your parents don't have funds to send him to school, he should go and hawk on the
You have
street?
been rotating around the same mediocre examples since
That's
the
what
start.
I'm answering.
That is not. Wait,
Answer
wait.
the question, yes or no.
What was the question?
If you have a 3-year-old brother, do you think it's safe for him to leave the house because he wants to go to school? He sees his friends going to school because they are opportune to. He wants to go to school, but his parents are not able to send him to school. Do you expect that 3-year-old to go on the street and hawk? That is where you base mindset on an individual. But when you're born poor, there are certain things you
Don't
cannot
bring
do until
young
you.
toddlers into this.
But that
Talk
is
about the vice man who has decided to
Poverty
remain poor.
has no
It's a
age.
community. That's what happens. It's our
Nobody
day-to-day
has.
life.
You have not said any
This is where you see
5-year
blame
old.
comes in, where you keep on blaming the system, blaming your situation, blaming your
That- and-
circumstance. You
and-
stay
and
there.
that is-
Like you said, it's your junior brother.
It's not really
Wait,
blaming.
It's
that-
actually blaming.
That is why I'm saying, see,
like you're like
It's
you're
the
like
government taking responsibility for it.
you're blaming the government for not taking responsibility. Have you considered moving up to that government to take responsibility?
mindset comes with age, but circumstance has no age. And that is a fact. As you grow, your mindset grows too. But circumstance, if you're born in it, you deal with it until a particular age where you think that, okay, now I need to step out of this. But if you're born in poverty, that's what I'm saying.
Is the mindset that still
Yes,
prompts you to step out
prompts
of
you to
it,
step
right?
out. But poverty is based on circumstance.
Do you know that you can seize that circumstance to get out of it? You have said it here yourself. Oh no.
Okay, please. We've reached the end of this episode, and we've seen that throughout the podcast, Bradley and Alicia have been bickering on the topic, so we haven't gotten to a conclusion yet. Let us know your views in the comment section, and if you want a part 2, because we'll definitely give it to you guys. Keller, you can now give out your shout-outs.
Shout out to my parents, my family, my friends who supported me in all this, the St. Mary's crew who took part in this show, the St. Mary's community and all that. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Catch you guys on our next episode. Bye.